Vasudevendra Yogendram Natva Jnana Pradam Gurum Mumukshunam Hitarthaya Tattva Bodho Bhidhiyate. So we have analyzed these covers, and we stated that they are not covers unless there is identity with them. If there is no identity with them, then they are merely recognized to be modifications of existence. So we said that if you, Atma, are identified with the person who was just now meditating, did you notice that? There was silence, there was knowledge of the person who was sitting down, there was knowledge of sounds, and there was knowledge of the experience. Notice that? There was knowledge of all three. The person sitting down, the subject, there was knowledge of the floor, the time, when is he going to begin. Okay, these are all objects. There was knowledge of everything, of the person, of the objects, and of your experience of the whole room. Experience of silence. That's also an experience. So we said when that present one who recognized all three of them, when that present one identifies with the intellect, we also call this the ahankara, the I sense, identifies with the pramata, we said the pramata, right? The knower. The knower just means the instrument that knows, the mind. That's in reference to Atma, the mind is the knower, okay? So when Atma identifies with the buddhi, right, the intellect, the doer, the thinker, the walker, the talker, the singer, the writer, the head shaker, the agreeer, the disagreeer, the contemplator, the inquirer, the confuser, the one that's certain, the one that's uncertain. When Atma identifies with all of them, or any one of them, then that Atma is now the subject. Now Atma becomes what we call pramata. So originally, how do we start Vedanta? We say there's only two things, subject and object. This is speaking to whom? This is speaking to the one who will agree with that, an ordinary person, because that's what everyone's experience is. Yeah, there's me and there's you. There's me, the subject, and there's you, the object. But then later we refine and we recognize even the subject is not you. So this is a methodology, order. And then we said, we went to the Anandamaya, modification of Ananda, modification of the causal body. And we said, when you say, in the waking state, when you say, I'm ignorant, I don't know, you're identified with which aspect of the causal body? Tamaguna of the aspect of the causal body. When you say, I am happy, you're identified with sattva aspect of the causal body. So this is why in yoga, what's the goal in yoga? To attain nirvikalpa samadhi. So what is nirvikalpa samadhi? It's a place where I am accessing the sattva portion of the causal body. That's it, just accessing the full sattvic portion of the causal body. And thus, this fella experiences bliss, happiness. So even Nirvikalpa Samadhi is what? Identification with the causal body. It's a good teaching tool, but that's about it. So then, meditation is the same. Meditate, 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 feel great. Kriya Yoga, okay? Yogananda tradition, I've done this, I know. It's fantastic, you feel great. So what? Bringing in more sattva into one's experience. Feels great, fantastic. But the danger is when you keep on going, this is me. This is who I am. I am this fullness. I am this cheerfulness. Because this happiness feels like fullness. Okay? But this fullness also came in time. It came in time. So therefore, even identification with utter joy, with any kind of nirvikalpa, any kind of savikalpa, that too is nothing but committing a mistake to one of these 5 layers. So the model, what the model is saying now is, if you were to look at your experience and you were to put one of your, how you feel, what you think, into one of these 5, you will find that you can always put your experience into one of these five layers, including ignorance and happiness. Therefore, this model is merely meant to reveal the mistake that you commit, that you, Atma, in association with your intellect, commit. Okay? So therefore, just by knowing that even what ignorance is not I, happiness is not I, that alone is what disassociating you from committing this mistake. Now, if we were to ask, how do we exactly implement this? How do we put this into action? That's what the next verse mentions. And let's see what it says. Madiyam shariram, madiyam shariram. So, madiyam is mine, so what? My sharira, my body. Madiyaha pranaha, my what? My circulation, my prana, my digestion, my excretion, oh, my circulation, oh, high blood pressure, oh, got low blood pressure, my blood pressure, my low blood pressure. Madiyam manascha, my mind. Madiya buddhihi, my intellect. Madiyam ajnanam, my ignorance. So what do they all have in common? Madiyam. So what is this? Whatever you say as mine is not you. Whatever you claim as mine cannot be you. Because the one who claims as mine has to be other than that which they claim. You have to be different from the possessed to say it is mine. Otherwise you wouldn't say it is mine. So what do they say? So what is this transcending? What is this transcending these modifications? Kataka kundala graha. So just like you say my bangle, my earring, my house, my etc., you don't put your I sense into that. You don't put your I into that. If you say my ring, You don't say, oh, if this ring is now put on someone's finger, you don't say, I am put on the finger. You know, my ring is on her finger. His ring is on, so on. My ring, my house, my bangle, my digestion, my pain, my suffering, my enjoyment, my ignorance, my knowledge, my enlightenment, my confusion, my hurt, mine, my intellect, my sharpness, my dullness, my work, my karma, my consequences, my punishment, my life. Whatever is claimed as mine is not you. So now, what kind of transcendence is this? It's simply a cognitive transcendence. Cognitive. Whatever is claimed as mine is not me. Hey, Andre, I have a question. My confusion. Our questions are always based on what? My confusion. Therefore, it's not really the you are that confused, but what's happening. You're identifying with the instrument that hasn't worked something out, and then taking ownership of that instrument, and then saying, my intellect in which abides this confusion. And so then we ask a question, and we want to solve what? We want to help out the intellect. And then we go, my epiphany, my insight, my problem solved. So during my confusion and during my problem solved, essentially, they were neither mine. Whether there's confusion, my confusion, whether a problem is solved, my problem solved, none of them belong to me. Because by definition, I know about them, and the knower can never be that which is known. They have to be logically different. Okay? So now what do we do? What's the formula for applying this? Whatever is mine is not me. Okay? So this, I think let's see what the verse says. So, tadyatha madiyatwena jnatam. So just as all of these are what? Known, like the bangle, earring, griha, house, swasmad bhinam, you know they are different from myself. In that same way, tata panchakosha, whatever you say my in reference to panchakosha is equally, just like the bangle, ring, is equally not mine. Okay? So what are we essentially doing here? This panchakosha model. This is what you call na iti, na iti, na iti, na iti, na iti, na iti. If you put that together, you get neti, neti, neti. But you break down the sun here, you get na idam, na idam, na idam. Idam means this, not 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 this. But then who's the one that always remains, no matter how much they say not this? You know. So this is a model of the Veda. They have two models. One model is not this, and the other model is whatever is mine, whatever is pointed as this cannot be me. This thought, this cannot be me. The other model they have is whatever is claimed as mine can also not be me. So whether you say this, whatever this is, cannot be the one who is present to witness, this pointing, this negation. the one who is present to witness the negation. Has to be thus other than whatever is negated. In fact, who is witnessing the negation? In whose presence is the negation occurring? In the presence of the one who's left. Okay? So na iti, na iti, na iti, na iti. So this is simply what? Disidentifying or correcting, not even disidentifying, just putting things in the right perspective. Okay? There's no need to disidentify with anything. Just see it that it's an order of reality that is what anitya is changing. So now, what have we done so far? We have addressed what is Atma in a negative sense. We said what Atma is, the witness of the three states. We haven't answered what is Atma. We said that Atma is not the three bodies. We said Atma is other than the five covers. So now the next verse wants to say is, what is Atma? Now it wants to state it in a positive, a direct sense. So let's see what it says. Atma tarhi kaha, Atma tarhi kaha, Satchidananda Svarupaha. So if you ask, who am I? What's the nature of this self-evident being? What's the nature of this self-evident being none other than yourself? What is the nature of Atma? And then now again it brings these three words in, and it says now what? So now next page it wants to answer each one of them. So next, Sat Kim, Kala Trayepi Tishtati, Kala Trayepi Tishtati iti. Okay, we'll do it again. So Tishtati ti sat, Tishtati ti sat, Tishtati ti sat. C'est Tishtati iti sat. Okay. So now it's addressing Sat. What is Sat? Let's see what the book says. So it says Kala Traye, so that which obtains in the three periods of time, that which remains in the three periods of time, that which cannot be negated in the three periods of time. So therefore, this is the definition of truth. What is the definition of truth? That which is ever available. It cannot be negated. So now, if it cannot be negated, then you must ask the question, what has been, what's the only thing that is not being negated in my life? You cannot say it's your memories. You cannot say it's something about your body. Your body has been negated even now. Hundreds of millions of cells are dying. Okay, so what is the one principle that has not been negated? Okay, it has to be that one who is what aware to what has not been negated. So it has to be what the truth which stands as it is in all three periods of time. That was equal yesterday as much as it is equal right now and will be equal tomorrow. So we must now ask, what is this that is equally available yesterday, right now, and will be equally, and I say equally specifically, it means it's not going to be more, it's not going to be less, it's not going to be more evolved, it's not going to be smarter, it's not going to be less tired or more tired. It's not going to be more, what do they say, expanded, more, it's not going to be more alive. It's not going to be less alive. So if there's one single change that we're speaking of that is not Sat, it has to be equally the same. Let's see what it says. So it's the same in the past, same in the present, and same in the future. So let's do a little inquiry, just do a little bit dig deeper. What can you negate? How about time? Can you negate time? What about when you're, how about this? You know, one's on a date, and what 1 hour or 2 hours is like 5 minutes. Huh? So what I have totally, you know, in my presence, time has completely undergone anityam. And then what? You touch a stove, a hot stove, and that moment is like 10 minutes. So again, so this time, right, being you know, subject to change, is cannot be that which obtains in the 3 periods of time, because by definition, it should not change. It should always be the exact same. It should always feel the same. So if time itself was Sat, then time should always feel exactly the same. You should never go, oh my God, you know, this days is so long, or this day is so short. What about, you know, we have time in, you know, dream. Dream obviously will have very different time, if any time at all. In a dream, you can experience 25 years in 1 second. Very strange. I have experienced a long, long life, you know, and then how long was it? Well, in this world, it was, what, only 5 seconds, but you're telling me what it was like eternity. So this means time got completely manipulated by the mind itself. And then, what, for a moment, you know, no time in coma, coma, right? No time, or, you know, deep sleep, no sense of time at all. They say, you know, the little argument they pose, yeah, well, I know I slept because, you know, I went to bed at 10 and I woke up at 6. So I know I slept, you know, I can infer. Then I say, that's not what I asked. I say, how long did you sleep? Not dream. How long did you sleep? How many minutes did you sleep? We know you dream for maybe 40 minutes or 30 minutes or 20 minutes, but I want to know, how long did you measure? How long did you sleep? Do you have any sense of that? No way, because so the mind wasn't there, time was completely negated also. So this means time depends on the mind, and the mind further depends on the knower. Not the knower, but the knower is the mind, but depends on the Atma, depends on the Sakshi. So we can negate time. We can also negate a sense of space, like you know, space also we can negate it in your deep sleep, and you can also change space proportions in your dream. But what is not negated? What is not negated? What is non-negatable? Because here we are speaking about what? Deep sleep, time, etc. And you're kind of like shaking your head like, yeah, I kind of, you know, get you. So what does this mean? That something was not negated. Just the fact that you're referring or relating to this deep sleep. You're relating. When I say, do you sleep? Do you sleep? If I say, do you sleep? Am I saying, when you shake your head, are you shaking your head in reference to the dream, or shaking your head to that place other than the dream? And when you go to bed enthusiastically, do you go enthusiastically to dream, or to that place other than the dream? Yeah, other than the dream. So this means, just because you know about it, you have to what? Be there. So this means while the time was negated in deep sleep, you, the one that's aware, the awarer, was not negated at all. So what does this mean? There's only two things, not that there are things, but there's two principles that are not negatable. So Sat is non-negatable, but what else is non-negatable? Chit. Sat and Chit, non-negatable, because whatever see, even deep sleep is, even that, right, is in existence. So what? In that existence, even though there was mind, there was no mind, there was nothing except existence, but what else was there? Chit, awareness. Therefore, you cannot separate existence and awareness. They're one reality looked at from two different standpoints. So I want to ask now, just a little analysis, because often people will say, how do I see this world as, as one? How do I understand this world as one total? And what is this, what's the quote understanding of a wise person? What do they understand? What goes in their mind that helps them understand that all that is here is obtaining as one? And then we have what? We have a little analysis. So if you take any object in this world, any object, this object will go through changes, okay? But at every level of change, this object will enjoy isness. So if I say to you, what? Pot is, and then we go smaller, and we say clay is, and then we go smaller. We say molecules are, molecule is, and then we go smaller. Atom is, okay? Neutron is, smaller is. So what's changing here? The name and form. The name and form. But what is accommodating every name and form? What is ready to accommodate every name and form? Is. So what is non-negatable? Is. And so what is Sat? This isness of an object. The isness of an object. So now, where can you not find is? Tell me this. Where can you not find is? Find me anything in this world. Just to find something implies it exists. And at every level, no matter how deep you look into it, you're only looking at it because that level which you're looking at is. So is, sat. But what changes? Name form. Anitya changes all over. Nityam. Upholding, supporting every form, every changing form. But we can go even further. Shirt is because of shirt awareness. Now let's go dig into the shirt. Cloth is because of cloth awareness. Deeper. Particles, molecules is because of molecule awareness. Atom is because of atom awareness. Subatomic particle is because of subatomic particle awareness. Time is because of time awareness. So what's changing? Name form. What's constant? Is an awareness. Sat chit. Therefore, the two constants, Sat and Chit, are what? Nityam. And everything else is Anityam. Everything else is thus Mithya. It's changing. It's dependent upon what? Sat Chit. What is there to say about this shirt? Unless it is. But also, what is there to say about this shirt? Unless there is shirt awareness. Therefore, not only does mithya depend on sat, but it depends on sat chit, sat chit, sat chit. Therefore, sat and chit is what? The foundation for everything in this universe. Okay, next page, 75. Chit kim, jnana swarupaha, jnana swarupaha. Yeah, so jnana swarupaha. So what is consciousness? What is chit? What is awareness? And what does it say? It says jnana swarupaha, that which is of pure knowledge. Pure knowledge. Pure knowledge in whose presence objects obtain. Knowledge in whose presence objects take place. Okay, pure knowledge is the knowledge principle. When you put a shirt in this knowledge principle, you say, shirt is. When you put an experience in this knowledge principle, you say, experience is. Therefore, it is of pure knowledge. It is even knowledge of, not knowledge of, it is knowledge because of which science knowledge is taking place. Okay? Science information. That means science information in the presence of this pure knowledge that just shines, it illumines whatever is within its presence. Therefore, you go, wow, such a world of knowledge, of science. Okay? So pure knowledge. And there's a metaphor. So suppose we have a light, a torch. And on the torch, we have two filters, a red filter and a blue filter. Now, if you turn off the light, obviously, there's nothing to see. But if you turn on the light, okay, and then you put the red filter over the torch, and what you're going to see? You're going to see redness. The attribute will be redness. But what gives knowledge of that redness? Why is there red knowledge? Because of the pure light. And then we take the red filter away, we put the blue filter. Now what happens? The red, suppose you leave the light on, and now you take the red away and you put the blue away. You put the blue in. So what happened? Throughout the whole process, there was knowledge of the blue, there was knowledge of the blue being taken away, and there's knowledge of the red coming in. Why? Because pure knowledge principle, the pure knowledge, in this case the light, was there, shining, giving presence, giving consciousness, giving knowledge to the changes that were occurring. So in that same way, when we say, who are you? Who are you? You are pure knowledge principle. It means in presence of one, in the presence of one I, in the presence of one I, in the presence of one self, what happens? There are various modifications going on, various modifications. But throughout those modifications is chit, 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 chit. Therefore, always comes back to the same. Sat and chit always remain what? Non-negatable, obtainable in the three periods, and everything else that is modifying is what becomes an object of knowledge, just like the red filter, the blue filter, etc. Okay? Ananda kaha, ananda kaha, sukha swarupaha, sukha swarupaha. So, what is Ananda? Oh, it's bliss. No, it doesn't say that at all. Official definition in Vedanta, Ananda is not bliss. We can now lay this matter to rest. What does it say? Sukha swarupaha, the nature of any kind of happiness. That which is behind any kind of happiness. As we briefly touched upon. So now, in the context of Sat and Chit, you, the one that's non-negatable, in the context of that, what? This Ananda is not an experience, but it is an understanding. It's helping you to understand that in the moments of happiness, how do you feel? What's the feeling? A feeling of no division. No division. We call this nirvikalpa. Is that your experience in happiness? The closest you can describe what is happiness like? It's a place, or whatever place, the location, whatever you want to call it, where there's no division. There's just no division. I'm not divided. I do not stand divided with anything. I am one with myself. The experience is one total experience. Nothing is missing in this moment. It's just one full experience. Therefore, this is the nature of any kind of happiness. So whatever happiness comes, what is this? What's the nature of that happiness? Ananda. And you being Sat-Chit Ananda, which means what? Any happiness is a manifestation in the physical form of your nature. You understand? So when there is happiness, what is happiness? It's a condition in the mind, it occurs also in the body. Okay, the mind is required for physical happiness to come through, for biological dopamine, serotonin to be released. All of this is what? A manifestation of what? Of Ananda, that which is full. Okay? So happiness is nothing but a manifestation in the physical form of something that is full, something that is completely full and has no divisions. But then we ask, why do we experience divisions? If your nature is the non-division, no division, if you are fullness, why do we experience right now where there's an experience of division? I'm over here and you're over there. Huh? Maya. I've never heard of this word. We used the simple logic. We said you have to use the words that we used so far. This is how it works. I will not ask you a question that demands an answer that I've not, a word that I've not said. So if your nature is fullness right now, why do you experience yourself sitting here? Why are you not experiencing yourself everywhere? And remember, it's exactly the same for a wise person. They also experience themselves right here, not over there. Why is that?
Because we have a physical body.
Good. So we touched upon this briefly. Because your fullness is partaken by one individual mind, one subtle body. And that subtle body further obtains inside the physical body. And therefore, you say, I am over here, and you are over there. So if you were to just imagine it like this, see, this body is not conscious right now. This body has no consciousness of its own. But what? Consciousness everywhere. So consciousness is right here waiting, but you don't see it, do you? So how can you see consciousness? You need an instrument through which consciousness can live in. So right now there's no consciousness. I tell you there is consciousness. How do you prove it? Look, I'm going to get up and I'm conscious. Why is this body conscious? Because consciousness is everywhere. If consciousness was not here, what would that look like? I'm conscious over here, I walk and suddenly I fall unconscious. So this means the only reason why this body is now conscious, alive, dynamic is because why? This body is as though walking through a field of consciousness. Consciousness everywhere. And so what? Consciousness is accommodating wherever this body is going right now. It's over there. I have no fear of falling unconscious because I know consciousness is everywhere. But this body that's speaking right now has no consciousness of its own at all. It needs consciousness to be alive. So therefore, what? Consciousness is everywhere, and bodies walking in this field of consciousness remain what? They remain conscious, 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 conscious. But the body itself, inert, no consciousness whatsoever. So why is the body now enlivened by consciousness? Because consciousness is everywhere. Understand? So we call this the field of consciousness. Not that it's a field, but consciousness being everywhere. When this inert body, what? It's just a bunch of cells. Mind has no capacity for being conscious of its own. So when this instrument walks in this field of consciousness, it becomes what? Enlivened. It becomes alive.
If you die, there's also on the floor consciousness.
Yeah.
And you lay the dead body is also in the consciousness. How does that relate?
Sure. So excellent. So I believe I'll answer this now. So what's the only difference? Did you see what he asked? Mm-hmm. What's the only difference between a rock and a human being, right? So a rock is, a human being is. So they both enjoy existence. But if I look at a rock, it doesn't have any awareness. I don't see it dynamic. I don't see it glowing. I don't see it glowing at all. However, the physical body is glowing. Right now, there's a glow. If you've ever been to a funeral and you saw a dead body, you know what I'm talking about. It is like a statue. It's almost like, did you put the statue here? Where's the original body? So, there's no glow at all. So now, what is giving this body its glow? What's giving this body's glow is what? Your subtle body. Your subtle body. So what happens is at death, the subtle body leaves. Now the question is, what is giving the subtle body its glow? Sat Chit, you, awareness. Therefore, aware consciousness enlivens the subtle body enlivens the physical body, and therefore, what? Now, there is what? There's a dynamic person.
But where does the causal body come in?
The causal body is that which preserves the subtle body. So causal body doesn't go anywhere. Causal body is part of the total. And that causal body sustains that subtle body wherever it travels. Okay? Because that subtle body is just a product of a cause assigned just to it, just to itself. So what does this mean? It means that every subtle body has a causal body. Now, when I say this, what do I mean? Has a causal body. What does this mean? See, there's something else that I have not told you about the causal body because we have not introduced the macrocosm. Okay? So now, it's probably not the right time to introduce, but look at it like this. The causal body is a minuscule of the total causal body. Okay? So what is a total causal body now? Total causal body is that that body, just that cause. Get rid of the word body, please. When you talk about causal body total, get rid of the word body. Just call it the total cause, okay? The total cause which generated the whole universe, from which the universe comes. One portion of that cause is called your causal body. So that total cause enjoys what? Total intelligence. Because it created the total. Total cause equals it creates the total. Therefore, for it to create the total, it has to know everything. Understand? But when it just gets what? Your causal body is just a minuscule of that total causal body. Therefore, you don't have all knowledge. Therefore, that equals what? Ignorance. So your causal body is just a minuscule of the total causal body. And therefore, naturally, what? You're not going to have all knowledge. Which is why we say causal body is ignorance. It's not like it's ignorance, it's just that it doesn't know everything, right? So therefore, what? I don't know everything. As a person, I don't know everything. So the causal body stays there as long as Atma is identified with the causal body. So it's only when Atma, when you disidentify from the causal body, then there can no longer be a cause of what? I can no longer be caused as another human being, the subtle and the physical. This we will cover later, okay? Disidentification or disassociation. So what is this chit? It is said it's pure knowledge, and while itself, this pure knowledge principle is self-illumining, okay? Just like the light illumines everything, the light doesn't need to illumine itself. Therefore, who illumines this world? Who gives this world its light, its shine? Consciousness. And this consciousness, we say, is your nature, is your nature. You know, in the so we spoke about this division, and we said what Ananda is no division, no division. And you know, we have a metaphor for this no division, how to explain. We have a dream. And you know, in the dream, what? There's a difference, there seems to be a difference between the little person, you know, the you, the one with the problems, and the one with the concerns, the one with the memories, the one with the relationships to other people. That's called a subject. That's called a subject. The one who sees someone else in the dream and they start to cry or they start to be happy, right? That's the subject. And they see an object over there, and then the object has, you know, a life of their own. And then they see trees behind, they see a house, right? You see these little things from your life. So all these three, what? The subject, the object, and the experience of the whole dream, what? Is nothing but made out of whom? Is made out of whom? The one who has nothing to do with neither the subject, nor the object, nor the trees or the mountains or the, you know, the various experiences that are taking place. So what? But your mind had the ability to create a whole world of complex forms, of names and forms. So your mind did what? Your mind took you, took your existence, took your awareness, and it created a what? It sculpted a uniquely fashioned world based on what? All of the past things that you as a person, as a waker, have done. And therefore, your mind created multiplicity out of you, out of your existence, out of your awareness. You know, but upon analysis, you know what? You wake from the dream, you wake up from the dream, and you realize what? is that a dream? None of this was me. All of this was just one silly experience. And then you're so relieved that everything you've done in the dream, you've did some fishy things, and you've crashed into someone's house, and kind of put a flower on someone's head, and you played a prank on people, and then one even cries for having done something so terrible, and then they wake up, and then they realize they're so relieved. My God, none of this, all of the stuff done by the subject and all of the results the subject has gotten, all of the consequences that went onto the subject, none of this had anything to do with me. And then there's such a huge relief, and you realize, so I don't have one single ounce of merit or demerit on my account. I am completely free, completely pure. There's nothing to forgive. There's no one to forgive. There's nothing to ask for forgiveness for. It was not me. It was just a little character who was just helplessly playing along according to its desires, wishes, fancies, and everything else that was going on. Okay, so it's like a dream. Therefore, the dream, having multiplicity, in actuality was nothing but this one homogeneous being, which was you. So now when we get to macrocosm, it will be very similar how the universe comes out. And I also want to mention, for a jnani, for a wise person, so we said earlier that an unwise person, they have to have an experience. And why? So they can temporarily get rid of this subject and object. This is the world, right? I want to merge with something, so I can temporarily remove the wanter. Now the second mistake that comes after that is what? Then I think I am this. I want more of this happiness. I want more love. This is who I am. I am love. I am happiness. So now there's two mistakes committed. Mistake number one, I wanted to experience something, wanting to as though it is different from me. So this means I reinforced my separation just to look for something. And second, when I did finally get it, what happened? I then made mistake number two. I said, I am love, I am happiness, I am this beauty that's being experienced right now. When in actuality, what Atma has now identified with? Anandamaya Kosha, Sattva Guna. So remember, anything that comes in time is not you. Anything that originates in time is not you. Whereas a wise person, a jnani, they also experience division between what? Between themselves as a person, as a body, between the objects and the experience. But what's the only difference? They cognitively understand, despite the differences, what? There's no actual difference between the subject, the object, and the experience, and the one in whose presence this experience is taking place. There's no actual difference, because the whole thing is just what? Is, and the one that's present, you, also what? Is. So the whole thing is what? Existence. The whole thing is just you. And the one that's present is what? You, Sat Chit, and everything else that's changing is what? Is you, Sat Chit. Remember, wherever there is Mithya, that's exactly where Satyam is. So even the world, what? Remember this analysis. Is. The form changes, right? The form changes. But wherever the form is, wherever the form changes, it exists. I also exist. And this form is just what? A modification of what? Existence. So existence is undergoing modifications, but the isness always remains. You understand? At every level of change, isness remains. Therefore, there's only what? There's only one existence here. Satya Mithya. So therefore, a wise person appreciates cognitively that there is no difference between the subject, the object, and the experience. That's the only difference. Cognitive appreciation. Unwise person lacks this. Therefore, they go and chase for objects in the world. So then, what is the cause of suffering in the light of this fullness? What's the cause of suffering? Think about this. Any form of suffering that occurs for anyone, and no matter how small, what is the real cause? You can put psychological reasons onto it if you want, but besides that, what's the real cause of suffering?
Putting your eye in the wrong place.
Putting your eye in the wrong place, right?
Ignorance of oneness. Ignorance of being one.
Yeah, ignorance of fullness, ignorance of Ananda, ignorance of the fact that there is only one existence obtaining as many. Only one existence obtaining as many. If I ignore that, right? Well, many ornaments are nothing but one gold. Remember, it goes back to our original example. So therefore, this will now motivate Nirvikalpa Samadhi and meditation for years. But in Vedanta, what do we say? You don't need to experience Nirvikalpa Samadhi in yoga. You are Nirvikalpa. So this is what? Through knowledge, you understand cognitively, you already are Nirvikalpa. You already are without division. Whereas in yoga, what happens? I have to take 20 years to attain Nirvikalpa, and no doubt it's probably a lot more blissful, okay? But it's very short-lasting. It begins and ends. Whereas in Advaita, you cognitively understand, despite the differences, cognitively I appreciate is, and what changes? Merely the form changes. But the form is nothing but is, remember. It's nothing but is. So that's this. So in other words, it's nothing but existence given a name. You understand this? It's nothing but existence is given a name. Existence of shirt, given a name. Existence of cotton, given a name. Existence of yarn, given a name. Existence of particles, given a name. Existence of atoms, given a name. Existence of bosons, given a name. Existence of thought of this object, given a name. Existence of time. Existence of what? Thought. All of them what? What do they all have in common? Whenever, so what? I can only say shirt, assuming that the shirt exists. I can only say cotton, assuming that the cotton exists. So this means you cannot say shirt unless it enjoys existence. You cannot say cotton unless it enjoys existence. You cannot say anything unless it enjoys existence. So when you say anything whatsoever, what are you actually appreciating? When you say shirt, what are you actually appreciating? You're appreciating existence. Try to say anything, try to think anything, without it enjoying existence. And so what does now Tattva Bodha say? It says that this existence, right, this sat, and remember, wherever shirt is, because of shirt awareness. Therefore, the sat and chit is the content of the whole universe, of everything. And if there's only one content being Sat and Chit, does that not mean that you too must be Sat and Chit? You can't exclude yourself. Because you exist, there's awareness of you existing also. No different than shirt exists, and because shirt awareness also. So what's the difference? Shirt exists because of shirt awareness. I exist because of I awareness. What's the difference? So there's actually no difference with an object or with you. You understand? It's only Sat and Chit here. Sat and Chit. Sound of a cockatoo exists because what? Sound of cockatoo awareness. I exist because of I awareness. So what's always common? Existence, awareness, existence, awareness, existence, awareness. Try to say anything, try to think anything which doesn't enjoy existence awareness. Go. Nothing, nothing, void. Void is because of void awareness. You can't get out of this logic. Nothing is because of nothing awareness. So even nothing depends on what? Sat and Chit. And therefore, page 77, let's see here. Okay, in conclusion, Evam Satchidananda Svarupam, Evam Satchidananda Svarupam, Swatmanam Vijnaniyat, Swatmanam Vijnaniyat. And so this is the nature of you. This is the nature of Atma. Okay? So far we're now exiting another major section of the book. So what we spoke about was the reality of you. But what have we left out?
Creation.
How do we account for this multiplicity? For these many things in the world? How do I account for your body, for how did all of this come? How did the universe come? How can the universe come out of existence awareness? How does that happen? We have to now what? Collapse even the world, resolve the world, explain away the world into what? One Sat and Chit. And so we are now to embark on that. Yeah. So you see, the human intellect is curious, isn't it? It doesn't stop. It keeps on asking, where, why, how, where, why, how, why. Cannot help it. Kids, you will know, they will ask questions and you cannot help them. So this is the power of the human intellect. As long as there is one, these existential questions will keep coming. And now when the person asks, where did this house come from? What do we say? We say, yeah, it came from the architect, it came from the people around in this community. So what? We instantly answer with specificity when we know the answer, right? But now someone says to you, where did this soil come from? Well, it came from Earth. Where did Earth come from? Oh, it came from, I guess, the universe. Where did the universe come from? Big Bang? Where did the Big Bang come from? God. The moment we cannot explain something, we what? We offload the authorship to God. This is our way of the father not being embarrassed by the ever curious questions that the child is asking. So then what happens? Because of our human intellect, what is born? Born are different theories, different opinions about how the world originated. And then what do we have? We have folks like the rationalists or the atheists. What would they say? They would say, there is no God, full stop, big exclamation mark. There is no God. And so why would they say this? Because once upon a time, they defined what God is. Maybe their grandfather didn't want to answer, so they just said, I want to close down the conversation. I don't want to deal with this. So they closed themselves down. And so what? They made their own definition of God, and that definition they're dismissing. That's the inner psychology of a rationalist or an atheist. I've defined what God means, and that definition I am now dismissing. And so what happens? We then write books, Why I Am Not a Christian, or The God Delusion. And then we provide the rationale why there is no God to support our literal view of the scriptures. The world was created in 7 days. They take that literally, I tell you. So they will say what? They will say, how can the world be created in 7 days when the sun was not even there? You need the sun, you need day and night for days to come. But there was no sun. So therefore, the whole text, the whole Bible, they throw away. The whole scriptural text, they throw away. It happens anywhere. India, West, it doesn't matter. So what? One thing didn't make sense. They took it literally, and thus they throw the whole thing away. These are called our fellow rationalists or atheists. And then we have who? We have the scientist. What does scientists say now? Comes in and says, well, the universe came from where? Big Bang. It's a nice theory. It's got a lot of reason behind it, a lot of scientific proof behind it. And then we have a pragmatic person come. A pragmatic. What does a pragmatic person say? Who needs to know what God is? I'm a real practical man. God doesn't bring me the bread on the plate. I need to bring the bread on the plate. What are these matters there for? And then we have what? We have a religious, religious views. And what will some of them tell you? These questions cannot be answered. Don't ask these questions. Don't ask it. You cannot know these questions. So what? They deny your rationale. They take away your rationale, give you a simple what? Practice, mantra, ritual. They give you something. Just do this and you will reach God one day. And when you ask them a question, they will dismiss you. But you cannot stop because the human intellect wants to know. And thus, what happens? Creation theories come. What are these creation theories? Once upon a time, there was a Baptist. And this Baptist, what did he say? God created the world 5,000 years ago. And he put the dinosaur bones to test our faith. And we are talking, we're talking in authority here, okay? And this is, seems real. But no, what is the universal view? What is the general universal view of creation? And so it goes like this. What do we say? We say that, yes, the world is created. And, for the world to be created, you need a creator. This is a common view in any religion. So this is very common sense. So how is the world created? Well, just take a pot. You have a pot, and what? There's a pot maker, and there is the material. Therefore, the pot is a creation. Okay? So now, what is this? This becomes a problem. Because what does this imply? The creator and the material what was from somewhere else. The creator is not here, and the material was from somewhere else. It was, from maybe it was from the river, and now the material has been brought over here. So what happens? This same logic now gets spilled over into the total creation. So this means now this world, what is made by a creator, this world is a creation, and it has a creator, and it has material. Thus, the creator and the material are away from this world. And so this is the danger of what bringing one small object or using this word creation, because it triggers this kind of a juxtaposition onto the entire world. So we have to now solve this problem. And now, what does Vedanta say about creation? This we will see tomorrow. The model that Vedanta has. Okay.
This question in my mind forever. The face. Yeah.
Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnam Eva Avashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.